The NFL's been littered with injuries this year, and Week 7 was no exception, as we saw multiple teams suffer devastating injuries to some of their star players. And I'm going to illustrate that as we go through these power rankings, as well as cover some of the Week 7 action. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'll explain each tier as we go. I think that's a little bit more efficient. So let's start at the bottom with bottom of the barrel. These are your worst of the worst teams that are just, bad. And I have a new bottom team at 32. I'm gonna go with the Carolina Panthers. No longer is this the Andy Dalton comeback year. It's not looking like what Joe Flacco was last season. Listen, the Panthers are just bad. The defense, terrible. Got torched by Marcus Mariota, by the way. The defense is bad. The offense, it's barely cooking. They're a bad team. They're just a bad team, unfortunately. At 31, get a little bump this week for the New England Patriots. Let's go. Listen, the offensive line, it's bad. It's bad. It's hurt, but even before it was hurt, it was bad. The playmakers aren't really doing all that. As what Hunter Henry was kind of the lead receiver this past weekend. You had Pop Douglas. I think he was hurt, so he was like in the game, then out the game. Not hurt. He was sick. He was sick. He was under the weather. And then Jalen Polk, not having a great rookie year. So like Drake May, honestly doing the best that he can with what is given. And now the defense isn't even playing that well. They were unable to get pressure on the Jags. So kind of a rough year for New England, but that was kind of to be expected. That was to be expected. Speaking of to be expected, listen, the Dolphins are going to suck until Tua gets back, and that is for sure. There are a few things guaranteed in life. I can guarantee you taxes, death, and the Dolphins sucking without Tua. Some people now are calling for Mike McDaniel's head, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's a bit too much. But I am kind of done with seeing no one being able to like lead this offense to some sort of consistency or like at least a efficient drive, right? So it's just rough. Even the defense isn't playing all that great. And I know we've taken some hits like Jalen Phillips and such, but still, like they were unable to really get pressure against the Colts, which I mean, that's fine. That's a good offensive line there in Indianapolis, but like, golly, man. Golly. The Dolphins are just in a bad place. We'll hear more. I think Tua returns to practice Wednesday, so be on the look for that. At number 29, I got the Cleveland Browns. And I guess they suffered a devastating injury. Deshaun Watson goes down with an Achilles tear. He's gone for the rest of the season, the remainder of the season. Whether you see that as a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that up to you. But Watson wasn't playing. Like, he was playing reasonably all right in this game against the Bengals. It's just the problem is he's not been terribly great this season. Strangely enough, what was it? DTR was the backup over Jameis Winston? What are we even doing here? But Nick Chubb, congrats, got a touchdown in his return game. You love to see it, but the Browns, they are indeed bad. Even with the offensive line now getting a little bit healthier, they are indeed a bad squad, unfortunately. At number 28, I have the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis didn't get the start this week. AC sprain in his shoulder. It was Mason Rudolph. And honestly, I mean, they opened the game like 10-0 or something, right? And it was a bit more of the same, unfortunately. Listen, I think you're going to go with Will Levis the remainder of the year as long as he's healthy. See what you got in him. This offense isn't better with Mason Rudolph. You can't tell me that. And even if it is, it's such a marginal, it's such a minute improvement that it doesn't matter. Just figure out if Will Levis is the guy or not. Oh, I feel like we already have the answer to that question. Cool. Just keep on the track. Just keep doing that for the second half of the season. You're going to have a high draft pick. Go ahead, maybe one of these quarterbacks, though, not the greatest quarterback class, but there are a couple there that I really like. And going on this quarterback class. Just stay the course with Will Levis for now. And maybe he surprises you. That would be awesome during the second half of the stretch. See, there are two good outcomes here. Either he really sucks, you're drafting a quarterback high, or he ends up being pretty good. Well, what happens if he's mediocre? Well, then, hey, this is a mediocre quarterback class. I don't want to call it mediocre. There's not a lot of high-end talent. There's just not. Let's see. Who's next up here? Who's coming in at 27? Well, that'll be the New York Football Giants. So the Giants, Daniel Jones ends up getting benched. They try to find a spark in Drew Lock. Didn't do much. The Giants are just a bad football squad offensively. Defensively, they're not bad. I don't think they're terrible. Are they great? No, but there's a lot of encouraging signs defensively. You got to wonder if the offense was a little more, I don't know, good, then would the defense shine even brighter? I do want to point out, man, John Michael Schmitz, the former Minnesota center? He has not looked good, man. He's kind of on the struggle bus. And I get it, man. You're up against like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis and such, but it's been like, didn't look great his rookie year, but you kind of toss that out. He's a rookie. It's not been great, unfortunately. It's just not been great for him. But to be fair, there's really not a lot great about the Giants right now. I do have one more team here in this bottom of the barrel tier, and that would be the Las Vegas Raiders. They lose Aiden O'Connell early on in the game with I think he broke his thumb and he's probably going to hit the IR. But listen, the team's just bad. Like even like their pass rush, they can't do nothing. Like Max Crosby was kind of like held in check this week. But offensively, they're a mess. It's Brock Bowers and that's it. I mean, they were missing. Obviously, they traded Devontae Adams this past week. And they were missing Jacoby Myers. So, like, I mean, Gardner Minshew, he steps in, but, like, who the hell is he throwing to? This offensive line's young in parts. They're still going through growing pains. Like, Jackson Powers-Johnson hasn't been great as a pass protector thus far this season, but I expect him to get better. I think this is, like, his third start of the year. But the Raiders are just a bad team. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. Now, I do want to highlight this section, right? Because I just added it this week because I feel like I called this tier state of emergency. Now, these are teams that you could probably say need to win, or there's going to be some change in the front office and with the roster. Like these are teams that are like, you're really trending the opposite way than where you need to. You need to do better, or change is coming. And to be fair, for one of those teams, change has already came, and we'll talk about them in a second. But I want to start with the New Orleans Saints. I get it. They're one of the most hurt teams in football. They suffered a devastating injury to Paulson Adebo. I think he broke his femur. He's gone for the year. But the defense, to be fair, prior to that injury, they were trending in the wrong direction. A lot of that had to do was just with how ineffective the offense was. And under Spencer Rattler, I don't think he's playing bad ball. It's just like, who's he throwing to? No Rashid Shaheed for the remainder of the year. At least I suspect for the remainder of the year. I believe he has a meniscus injury. Chris Olave was out with a concussion. Like, this team's teams had a rough go of it. You still got Eric McCoy, who's going to be out for like, I think another month or maybe 4 weeks, somewhere around there. But yeah, this team's on the struggle bus, and I don't see it getting any better. And it feels like it's now been a lifetime ago that this team was 2-0, putting up 40-point games. Feels like it was so long ago. All right. Next team up here I'm going to put is the Jacksonville Jaguars. By the way, Dennis Allen, good luck, Godspeed. I think you might be the next coach to go. Or it could be Doug Peterson and company, which is a shame. Ryan Nielsen, he's going to end up probably getting the can as a DC for the second year in a row because the whole coaching staff just gets fired. Last year it happened with Arthur Smith, despite I thought the defense playing well. To be fair, this year, the Jags, they've been hurt, and the defense hasn't exactly been ideal. But they did look better this week against the Patriots, but they should. That's not a good Patriots team. That's just not. But at least the offense is looking spry. Walker Little had to step in because of Cam Robinson going down with an injury. And he looked good, to be fair. Again, the Patriots, they're kind of on the struggle bus, so I don't know how much that really means. But Trevor Lawrence has looked more accurate the past few weeks. Brian Thomas is looking like an absolute monster. I think we're going to be talking about him as like a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL in the near future. If not by the end of this year, we'll see what happens. But the Jags kind of need to win, and they need to win desperately. Like they were talking about a culture change last week. I don't know if this begins that culture change, but yeah, Doug, you need a culture change or else you're fired, you're canned, you're gone. Kind of bummer here is like, well, for me, because I'm a big Travis Etienne fan. He hasn't been that efficient this year. He misses this game with a hamstring injury, and Tank Bigsby. Honestly, this team's looked better with Bigsby getting a large amount of the carries. So makes me sad as an ETN fan, but good on you, Bigsby. Good on you. Next is those New York Jets. You knew that, like when I started talking about state of emergency, you knew the Jets had to be the first team that popped into your mind. Unless, of course, you're a fan of these other teams. I got one more team there, and I bet you can guess who it is too. But they kind of had to win this week. You just got Devontae Adams, fresh off firing Robert Saleh. You get Devontae Adams, and then you just go on the choo-choo. Now we're on a struggle train. That's right. We upgraded from a bus to a train. And you get routed by the Steelers? You got routed by Mr. Unlimited? Golly, the defense doesn't look great, man. It just doesn't. And I get that they were dealing with injuries. I think DJ Reed may have missed this game. I know Sauce got hurt during this game. It didn't sound like anything severe. But offensively, with the gaffes, just the gaffes. Like that pick that almost went for a pick six for Beanie Bishop was just absolutely just awful. Bouncing off the pads of Garrett Wilson. Wilson had two pretty devastating drops in this game. This being the most devastating. And if not for Devontae Adams making a tackle at the goal line, not that it mattered because they eventually did score. I think it was on, wasn't it on a Russell Wilson, not a tush push, but more of a quarterback sneak. I think it was, but nonetheless. I talked last week about the Jets needing to go at least 4-1 prior to their bye, because they're probably then going to have to go another, I think, 4-1, 4-2 after it. Let's take a quick look at their schedule. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 bye week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I said the back half they could probably go 4-2, and that's reasonable. But they have to go 4-1 prior to their bye. And golly, I think if they eat another loss, it just might be impossible for this team to make the playoffs. They might be dead in the water sooner rather than later. They take on the Patriots, should be a win there next week. They follow that up with the Texans, the Cardinals, which, hey, that's a gritty team. They just had a big win last night against the Chargers. And then the Colts are just such an indifferent team. We'll talk about them in a moment, but I think the Jets have to win these next 4 games because I have a hard time believing that they're going to go 4-2 after their bye. They face the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Dolphins once again, and these are probably going to be, well, at least for that first game, Tua will be back. We'll see how the season ends for the Dolphins. I imagine if they're not in playoff contention, do you really play Tua at that point? I don't know. But they also got the Rams and the Seahawks, which I don't think those are shoo-ins either. So right now it's tough sledding. I think the Jets probably end up blowing everything up at the end of the year. And then we got the Dallas Cowboys. They are next on the list. They had a bye this week. Good for them. Good for them Dallas Cowboys. But listen, I feel like Jerry's about to blow this sucker. You can't blow it to smithereens. You already re-signed Dak. You re-signed CD. But you can definitely say, okay, screw this coaching staff. Sorry, Mike McCarthy. Mike Zimmer, he's already on a 1-year deal. So I could definitely see the coaching staff getting the axe here. I imagine they pay Micah Parsons. I don't know. We'll see. But right now you're sitting at 3-3. And I think if there isn't a significant, like if you don't make the playoffs for one, Mike McCarthy, you're gone. If you don't get out of the first round, I think Mike McCarthy, you're gone. So kind of a state of emergency here for the Cowboys to some extent, at least in my opinion. Now let's move to this plucky underdog category. And let's talk about some underdogs as I'm going to start. Basically, these are teams that I don't think are going to be vying for the playoffs, but they're feisty and they're going to be able to sneak some wins against some good teams. I'm going to start with the Los Angeles Rams. They didn't look great this week. I get it. And it's not like it was a it's not a good Raiders team. But they will be getting Cooper Kupp back sooner rather than later. Puka Nacua will eventually be back. Will that solve anything, really? Yeah, the offense will be a little bit more potent. But I do think that's going to make them more feisty. I don't think they're going to be vying for the playoffs, but I think they're going to be able to get some wins that they shouldn't. They've already done that this season thus far while being as hurt as they are. Next, right above them, I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what to think about this team. This defense is just, puts me to sleep. They can't get pressure. They were lucky they were facing the likes of, well, unfortunately, Tyler Huntley went out or left this game with an injury. But they got lucky they were facing Tim freaking Boyle. As I roll my eyes, ugh. Anthony Richardson hasn't looked great since the season opener. You're still waiting on Jonathan Taylor to get back from injury. I don't know. I'm just not excited about this Colts team as I was going into the season. Like Anthony Richardson, you need to be better on the throw-to-throw basis. You need to be more accurate. Oh, but he can hit the big play. Cool. I need some consistency. I at least need like some sort of base, some sort of standard. Like, okay, we can still move efficiently even when Anthony isn't hitting all his throws. I need something. Next, I'm gonna have the Los Angeles Chargers. Tough loss, but hey, when you're stuck kicking field goals all game, when you get in a scoring position, or at least just, I don't know, blowing opportunities, which you had Jalen Reagor. Oh, nice 41-yard pass. Fumble. Tyler Tart, didn't he also like fumble after he like picked it off or something? Silly, stupid, but this team needs to be able to score. The way if they can't run the football, like, I get it, some of their playmakers are hurt. Well, I think Quinshon Johnson, did he play this game? I don't remember him getting a reception. Was he even in this game? No, I don't think he was. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, Johnston will be coming back soon, so that'll be nice. But, like, still, this offense, it needs to be more than Dicker the kicker, right? It's got to be more than that. Defensively, they're still pretty solid. I think they did a good job of holding the Cardinals to 17. It's just unfortunately when your offense is putting up 15, what you gonna do about it? So I don't know. I have a hard time buying into the Chargers are as anything as a legit contender. I feel like they're more of just this plucky underdog. All right, right after them, I think I'm going to put the team that beat them, the Arizona Cardinals. They're kind of the definition of plucky underdog, right? The defense isn't that good, but they're feisty. They'll play tough. Offensively, we're on the struggle bus right now. Like, thank you, James Conner. At least you're running well. Kyler Murray's running well. But what the hell? Marvin Harrison Jr. It's literally the meme of this guy with a stick poking saying, come on. Do something. Dude hasn't had like a good game since what? The Rams like weeks ago? That was the last time the Cardinals showed any sign of an offense. So they sneak a win out here. Cool, great, but need a little bit more. And especially like the defense, like they're not going to have outings like this every week where they're able to hold a team to 15 points. Hold a team that's in scoring position to field goals. They're not. This Chargers, let's not play ourselves. They're not an explosive offense. So, Cardinals need to figure out something to do there. Okay, so the last team I'm going to include here, this is 17, and it's going to be the Denver Broncos. I get it. The defense is really good. They're elite. I have a hard time buying into the offense and buying into this team being a playoff chaser. As it stands right now, Bo Nix came out a little jumpy on Thursday night. Missed some easy throws. But I still believe in Bo Nix. I think he's like, when he settled down, the offense was able to run the football. The things looked good. But I'm still kind of approaching the Broncos with caution. And I think that's a fair statement. Come on, man. Come on. Before we get to my playoff chasers, I got to give a shout out to Underdog of Fantasy. You see that code down there? Code BROSHMO. Well, if you go to Underdog Fantasy, sign up using promo code BROSHMO, they will match your first deposit up to $250 dues. Fun fact, the NBA about to start. We're in October. Has it started already? I don't know. I don't follow basketball. But if you want to get in on basketball action, or I don't know, we're knee deep in football. If you want to get in on the football action, you could either do weekly best ball, or you could do player picks. Like, oh, is this player's stat line going to be higher or lower? That's actually some of my favorites. And if you go to Underdog Fantasy, check it out. They have free promos each and every week on maybe a free gimme pick, higher or lower. Like, oh, I think yesterday's was Kyler Murray. Is it higher or lower 1 yard? They give you a gimme pick to include in your selection. So if you want to get in on the action, check out Underdog Fantasy. I have a blast doing it week in and week out of the NFL. So yeah, get in on the action. Sign up using promo code BROSHMO. But as always, play responsibly, play within your means. Let's talk about these playoff chasers. These are teams essentially that I'm not 100% sold that they're going to make the playoffs. I'm just not. They either got a ways to go, maybe they're beat up, or I'm just not sold that they're going to end up being among the 14 teams to make the playoffs. So let's talk, but I think they're going to be in the run-in. They're certainly going to be in the run-in. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I got to start with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team that's really fighting with their back against the wall. I think they're currently 3-4 after the win against the Cleveland Browns, but they are fighting with that back against the wall. I'm not going to doubt Joe Burrow in that offense. I have doubts with that defense. I really do. Really do. They'll get the Eagles next week. This week, I should say. This week. But you play in a tough division. You still got to play you'll be facing the Ravens in a couple of weeks, I believe. Yep. You go Eagles, Raiders, Ravens. Well, I guess the schedule is actually not too bad now that I look at it. Yeah, I don't feel the schedule's all that terrible for the Bengals. Really, their toughest game is that Ravens game. Oh, and the Eagles. Eagles are a talented team. Are they a good team? Some days. But it's a pretty manageable schedule. This is probably one of the easiest schedules I've seen the Bengals have to end the year with. So that's why I'm not quitting on the Bengals. I think the Bengals are a good offense at the very least. All right, next here at 15, I'm gonna put the Atlanta Falcons. They kind of made me sad this week. They came out, didn't look great. Kirk Cousins turning over the football. The offense could never really get going. Defensively, like against a Seattle Seahawks offensive line that is like their job has been giving up pressure. You're unable to get pressure. And I mean, this team was started a rookie like UDFA, right? In Michael Jarrell, I think, at a Campbell or something, right? I can't recall. But nonetheless, like that, to be fair, that was the only time they were getting pressure was from him. But he's a freaking rookie and was I think a UDFA, if not a late day 3 pickup. So, dude, the pass rush doesn't exist for the Falcons. I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time believing in this team. Can they clinch it? Luckily, fortunately for them, like the Bucks had some significant things go down, unfortunately, last night. So, obviously, I already thought the Falcons and the Bucks, they were going to be going head to head, right, for the NFC South. And now, after a week where the Falcons just looked bad, they had some things tip in their favor for them. Unfortunately for the Bucks, a lot of that was injury. I'll talk about the Bucks a little later on. I'm gonna bring up the team that just beat actually the Falcons in the Seahawks. So the Seahawks, right, looked great. The defensive line was finally healthy, and they wreaked havoc. Looked good. Gino was out there slinging. You got to appreciate it. Listen, when healthy, this team's not that bad. Now, I don't think the offensive line is going to perform like this every week. I just don't. Really, this is like Charles Cross and some subpar parts outside of Cross himself. So I don't think it's going to perform this well each and every week. But now that the defense is getting a little bit healthier, starting to feel really good about the Seahawks. So can't sleep on the Seahawks, man. I ain't going to sleep on Gino. Right above the Seahawks, I'm going to have the Chicago Bears. Okay, listen, I get it, guys. The Bears, they have had an impressive start to the season thus far. Currently, they are 4-2. That's actually last for the NFC North, which is kind of wild. That just shows you how good the NFC North is this season. This season. But to be fair, the wins the Bears have had, the Jags, the Panthers, the Rams, the Titans, these aren't that impressive wins. They're not. They're good to get Caleb Williams going, and maybe once the schedule gets harder, that Williams will have that confidence and the offense will be running like a well-oiled machine. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's why they're rated so high here for me. Unfortunately for them, like the end of their schedule to end the year, like just look at like this. Starting November 17th, Packers, then Vikings on Thanksgiving, the Lions, the Niners, the Vikings, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Packers. Freaking what a gauntlet. What a gauntlet. To be fair, most of those are divisional games, but still, those outside of the division, Niners, Seahawks, there's going to be tough matchups. So we'll see. I think, to be fair, Washington is going to be a tough test this week. But then they get the Cardinals, the Patriots. So a bit of a okay, we should be able to build ourselves up in these games, get some confidence, get some steam going as we head into this gauntlet. So I'm going with, again, the wait and see approach for the Chicago Bears. Right ahead of the Bears, I'm going to put the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, man, what the hell? The Niners are hurt. They're beat up. They faced some devastating injuries. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL, MCL, out for the year. Deebo Samuel's battling freaking pneumonia. So Ricky Pearsall's really going to get his number called. Jawan Jennings, who's coming off a hip injury, missed this game with a hip injury. So, like, these are going to be now the top targets here for the Niners. CMC, you have no idea when or if he's coming back. So, things are a little scary. The defense is really beat up for the Niners as well. So, like, the Niners are honestly trending the other direction. Kind of by virtue of they're just hurt and beat up. Kind of, sort of. Also, Brock Purdy and his 3 interceptions kind of helped against the Chiefs, unfortunately. I got one more team in this playoff chaser tier, and that would be the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, I buy in on the talent on this squad. They're an incredibly talented roster. Unfortunately, I just don't buy into their play. Oh, they just smacked the freaking Giants. Good. The Giants aren't good. You want me a pat on the back? I don't know. This team needs to consistently get Saquon Barkley going, and not necessarily going, just consistently give him the football to kind of take pressure off Jalen Hurts in this passing game. You are a little beat up. Jordan Mailata, I believe he's on IR with the hamstring injury. I don't remember if he went straight to IR or if they're like, oh, maybe we feel like he can be back in the next, 3 weeks. But nonetheless, the defense may have looked good against the Giants, but it's the Giants. I still have significant questions about it. Can this team consistently get pressure? So it's just there's a lot of questions with the Eagles. Can they perform when they're facing a better team? Now let's move on to this playoff caliber tier. Essentially, these are teams that I am 92.3% sure are going to make the playoffs. There's almost no doubt in my mind. Almost. Because there's a little bit of doubt with this pick. The Bucks faced some big injuries last night. First, it was Mike Evans re-aggravated his hamstring, which he got banged up during practice this week. Nonetheless, it was on a touchdown too. Well, what should have been a touchdown, but he was too busy dropping the football because he was holding his freaking hammy because it hurts so bad. So he exits the game. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. Late in the game where, hey, it's kind of out of reach. We're losing. Maybe you should pull the starter so no one gets hurt. Well, they don't pull the starters. Chris Godwin dislocates his ankle. He's likely gone for the rest of the year. That sucks. You already had Jamil Dean hit IR. I think he's dealing with a hamstring injury as well. But now you're looking at this offense, Baker Mayfield and company. Now you're looking oh crap. So our receivers are Trey Palmer and Jalen McMillan and Cade Otton? Depending on how long Mike Evans may be out. So it's could be a rough slate here for the Bucks. Right ahead of the Bucks, I'm going to put Mr. Unlimited and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Golly, I was very excited to see how the Steelers performed. I couldn't believe it. George Pickens and Russell Wilson literally hey, I'm just throwing this sucker. George Pickens, he's down there somewhere. He'll go get it, and he did. This is still one of the best defenses in football. So the Steelers, I think they're trending to they're gonna make the playoffs. Mike Tomlin, he's never gonna have a losing season at this point. Just we gotta get over it at this point. The Washington Commanders are the next team up here. This makes them 8th in my total power rankings. They just keep winning. Sounds like with Jane Daniels, the rib injury, which he had to leave the game early. Didn't matter. Marcus Mariota was like, oh, these are the Panthers. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and just put up some big numbers. But Jane Daniels, it sounds like it's not serious. So that's that's great. That's good news to hear. They got a big game this week against a very tough defense in the Chicago Bears. And then I do have one more team in this playoff caliber tier, being the Buffalo Bills. Oh, but they spanked the Titans. Cool. Can you beat good teams? Can you beat good teams, Bills? Can you alleviate this concern that I have for the freaking Bills? And can they beat good freaking teams? I'm glad you smacked the Titans. You should smack the Titans, but I need the Bills to have like a big win here or there somewhere, right? Against like a legit opponent. Oh, well, prior to getting Murray Cooper, we beat the Jets. Man, the Jets are beating themselves at this point. I get it. You had a close loss against the Texans. You got smacked against the Ravens. But I need a win that I can really sink my teeth into. The Seahawks have the potential to be that this week. After that, you're going to face Tua and the Dolphins, so that potentially can be it. But I'm just scared that this Bills team they're frauds, but they might just be beating it up on weak competition. There, I said it. I threw it out there. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and move to Super Bowl contenders because I think this is kind of wide open, and we'll see in a second. Let's just go ahead and put the Chiefs at number 1. They're the only undefeated team left in football, and it doesn't matter if Patrick Mahomes is playing like straight garbage. What, he's got like 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions this season? Let me just go ahead and confirm that. Make sure I'm just not talking on my butt, but I'm fairly confident he has more interceptions than touchdowns. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. That's absolutely ludicrous. That's wild. It doesn't matter. This defense is so freaking good. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. They're currently the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Now, at number 6 in my power rankings, I'm going to have the Houston Texans. Coming off a tough loss to the Green Bay Packers. It was at Lambeau. And the Packers won on a game-winning field goal. Something I didn't think I was going to hear again in my life. It wasn't CJ Stroud's best game. The offensive line wasn't great. But still, even probably in your worst performance, you had a chance to win the game. I think there's some positives you could take from this. Houston Texans are a very good team. Let's not get that twisted. They're a very good team. They will have Nico Collins back hopefully in another like 2 to 3 weeks. So, yay. At number 5, well, I have the Green Bay Packers. I legitimately just mentioned them. Listen, I think Green Bay's just incredibly talented. I think they're just incredibly talented. Like, think about it. Like, this defense they're finally turning it on, at least when it comes to the pass rush. Is that something that they could sustain week in and week out? We shall see. But offensively, this team could put up a lot of points. They're never out of the ball game. Jordan Love, even when he's throwing stupid picks, never out of the game because he makes these big-time throws. The offensive line is playing really good football. I believe in the Packers, man, so I got to put them here at 5. Then at 4, I'm going to put the Minnesota Vikings. They're coming off their first loss of the season. To be fair, in a game where it felt like they never controlled the game, they had a chance. They battled back. Sam Darnold, no quitting this man. He had like 4 big-time throws. Hell yeah, you go get it, Sam Darnold. The defense, scary as usual. You almost beat a very good Detroit Lions team who, granted, defensively, they just lost Aiden Hutchinson. But you were able to somewhat slow down the offense. Like, Gibbs still had a big day. Honestly, Goff played really well. But I think this Vikings team, I think they're legit at this point. Like, I can't deny that any longer. Can't deny that any longer. Ahead of the Vikings, I might as well just put the Detroit Lions here at number 3. Great win, but hey, you lost Aiden Hutchinson for the season. Won't be available until the Super Bowl. Will y'all make it? We shall see. But good win here. The offense is still running on, just running really, really well. Like they're running on all cylinders, looking great. Even when some of their players don't have ideal games, like David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, who will now be facing a 2-game suspension because of PEDs. But hey, you got Tim Patrick to step up, who's made some plays this year. So Detroit, man, think they're gonna be competing in the NFC Championship again this year. I think that's a possibility. Without Aiden Hutchinson, it's a little bit taller of a task, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. My number 2 team is the Baltimore Ravens. They're playing great football right now. It was a really great performance on Monday night. Lamar throws for 5 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, he's impossible to stop at this point. All right, that's just how it feels. He is the best running back in the league at this juncture, man. He's playing great football. The defense, they're fine. They're fine enough. They can make plays. But, hey, man, the Ravens, they showed, hey, we can win a shootout if we need to. Not to say that it was a shootout. To be fair, the Bucs were constantly playing from behind. So the defense kind of giving up plays here and there makes sense because, well, the Bucs were just throwing at this point and trying to get back in the game. But the Ravens, they look like, in my opinion, the second best team in the NFL. But there it is. There are my power rankings. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think I did a relatively good job with it this week. I like this edition of the State of Emergency because, honestly, I think all 4 of these teams are just... I think everything's on fire at this point, and I don't know if they can put it out. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you haven't already checked it out, I put out a mock draft yesterday. So if you want to go see who I have your team picking, because currently all 32 teams have first-round picks for now. So go ahead, check that out. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.